Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to participate the webinar. Today's webinar is called about learn a whole new way to monitor COVID-19 vaccine temperature, ensuring proper storage temperatures. I'm your presenter, Jessica from the marketing department of MileSite. So today's agenda is very tight in 30 minutes that we have today, but we will start with the latest COVID-19 vaccine-related news. This information is changing by the minute. I just got some new information about the vaccines, the effectiveness, what's going on with this, and we just continue to see more and more articles about COVID-19 vaccines that in the way for this. But there's also some others out of there have really great potential. So we want to talk a little about what does it mean to us now and in the future. One thing is really not about just having the right equipment to store these vaccines, but it's about being compliant and make sure that you have the right recourse. This is the whole another areas that we will discuss how to do that and how we would cover that. And we will do the advantages review of MileSite LoLo1-based solution for the hospital and pharmacy needs, which would include our MileSite sensors for environmental monitoring. And we will also talk about MileSite IoT Cloud platform. Now, this is our critical notification. We will tape this all together with our monitor to fully manage all of your facilities and stores needs. And we will summarize why this is really the best time to implement the MileSite temperature solution. And it's really not just to have the COVID-19 vaccines, but it's for the overall hospital and pharmacies' efficiency and performance. Then we will wrap up with some questions until the end of this webinar. So let's talk about some of this new information, the new pieces of information that are going out there. Currently, there are two different technologies applied to develop the COVID-19 vaccines. In China, we are still focused on the traditional inactivated vaccines technology. And in Europe and in United States, they are moving on based on the mRNA technology. And in some other countries, like in Indonesia, in Turkey, in Brazil, and Middle East, government approved to introduce both types of vaccines. And now, Pfizer seems to be the leader in getting this vaccine out and literally said their vaccine is going to be about 95% effective, which I think has been raised up from 90% on Moderna. Moderna's vaccine is another leader in this clubhouse. And according to the UAE, Ministry of Health in Middle East, the last phase of clinical trials, the total effective rate of China's Sinopharm's vaccine has up to 86%. I think that's a very good news, although our Chinese government hasn't released any official data about that. But the biggest question that everybody now asking, how is this going to be available, when is going to be available, and who is going to be available? I think on late November and December 2020, some American and some Chinese people have already vaccinated. But there is going to be a number of facing the purchasing to this, who's really going to get it. Is still a lot of questions unknown, but we were heading down the path quickly to this. And here we can see the biggest difference between Chinese and Europe or Americans' vaccine is about the temperature storage. I think maybe Chinese vaccine is not so effective, but I think the temperature is much more suitable for our normal vaccine storage and suitable for most undeveloped countries. Now let's focus on mRNA vaccine especially because it requires extremely cold storage requirement. Now the first initial supply again is going to be low, and keeping control and monitoring of this temperature of this is going to be extremely critical because the excitement of this vaccine at first was tremendous, but is a little tempered because when the reports came out, still coming out today, about storage of this vaccine has to be at or below minus 90 centigrades for the mRNA vaccines. Now, maintaining that temperature for mRNA vaccine is dramatically vital for the effectiveness of this, not for other vaccines, but for the COVID mRNA vaccine. Maintaining that temperature and be accurate with the temperature gonna be extremely critical. So some reports said that we have been reading this could be issues to some pharmacies, to some hospitals, to be able to maintain that degree of temperature and keep that at constantly low temperature, which could lead to not having mRNA vaccine in certain scenarios right away, but they cannot meet those criteria or be able to report on it. Or some of other information we have seen out there, maybe some of this late storage vaccine, the late stage vaccines, or even in the first round of vaccines, is you may be able to keep it at the typical vaccine range, which is 2 to 8 centigrades for maybe up to 24 hours only. So it's going to be critical that you have the right equipment to maintain these ranges and have the equipment to also monitor whatever ranges you have. You have a system that specialized to monitor and report back things in your pharmacy, in your hospital, is going to be critical. Reliant on the old ways of doing things when it comes to refrigerator monitoring is not going to be acceptable, So it's something they had to be thought about. Now, is all of this a lot of information here? You still have a pharmacy, have a hospital to run, so the COVID vaccine storage is not only worry that you really have. Let's see what can go wrong. Firstly, we can see the limitations of traditional equipment, such as the USB refrigerator and freezer loggers, as they do exist today. And one of the primary limitations, they are often difficult to set up. You are either required to use PC software to set up the loggers on your own, or in some cases, even try and go through menu screens on the logger itself to try and set it up. And that can be very difficult, certainly for the first-time users, even for the regular users who are trying to set up the loggers on a regular basis, often very difficult to download and more. So because you have to manually move the data logger from the refrigerator or freezer to a USB location to find a PC to download the information, it's often difficult to read the displays. And many USB loggers weren't really intended primarily from their initial development for vaccine monitoring applications. And so you have very smaller LCD screens, kind of limited, which you can actually view, and many do not have visual alarms. which is a key requirement from the government, from their guidelines. And COVID and kind of this new normal that we talk about is one of those areas, but it's also about maintaining that service that your customers expect from you today. We have also seen pharmacy technician storages, which create a lot of demand for proactivity and continuous training. You know that high turnover is increasing the complaint areas, the reporting emissions, because they just missing that. They got other things they got to report on. Their reporting is really becoming more and more by demand. And we have seen really hit hard on the pharmacy side with COVID vaccines. The old way of doing things is just not going to be acceptable anymore. Having the clipboard next to the refrigerator and doing that manual monitoring is just not going to be what the feature of this area is. So please making sure that you have the system that's automatic and you don't have to make the manual monitoring, and also helps you keep the focus on your customers. And excellent freezing or the spoilage vaccines and medication is also something to think about. But also the temperature and the humidity within any type of building is getting to be more and more focused, because may be required to monitor medications but also valveless transmission. And we have seen a lot of changes how buildings are run, and thinking about how do you monitor temperature and humidity is extremely important. And staff burnout and stress due to these increasing demands and change in the environment is also a huge issue to your staff. And so the ability of MileSite to help you and other pharmacies do what they need for customer errors, take away some of those from daily tasks, is vitally important, not only in the past, but today and moving into the future. As a pharmacy community or hospital operator, there's a lot of things on the plate. And one of those areas we want to talk about is the effective vaccine program, how important it is. So when we look at vaccine for children's program or China CDC, Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that program distributes more than 2.8 billion US dollars vaccine every year. And the data shows that between 1959 and 2017, this have been result in prevention of almost 900 million children not being ill or even death through this really valuable program. And you know, on the flip side of this, and due to the inappropriate temperature storage, the valuable vaccines become useless, and manufacturers and providers have the risk of the expensive financial loss. Now think about this. We just invested a couple of hours in a day in a system that can monitor, alert, report on these important vaccines. How great impact could you have? It's really simple mind numbering when compare this small investment that you have to the great impact you have on your business. It's a tremendous opportunity, I think. And there's a lot of things and worries in people's minds these days. So let's discuss what is MileSite temperature monitoring solution, how MileSite can help you be successful today and in future. It's all around taking these pieces, do I have standardized compliance to the product? Can I get alerts? Do I have to worry about having a server or something? Can I get a cloud-based solution? Well, for those questions, what we do is we help you with compliance. we help you with the reporting and alerting all through our MileSite IoT Cloud platform, and all the solution that helps you meet those requirements, from data, from automation, and from the user-friendly, all the aspects. So how can we help? Well, I think it's really two areas that we're going to focus on today. So we're going to start off by talking about MileSite sensor line, which is our environmental monitoring sensors, and MileSite IoT Cloud, which is our critical visible messaging platform. We have different types, and we have rich sensors. And among them, here you can find two different types of temperature sensor with different temperature monitoring ranges. The first one is EM500-PT100. That this sensor with a red line and probe. So it can support from -200 to maximum 800 centigrade. So I think it's absolutely perfect, suitable for your extremely cold storage requirement for the COVID mRNA vaccines. And another type is the EM300-TH temperature sensor. It can support temperature and humidity monitoring at the same time. So this sensor can be easily deployed inside of the refrigerator or the freezer or in your building for the indoor ambience monitoring, so for the indoor temperature and humidity monitoring, as well as we can put inside of the refrigerator and the freezer, okay, for the normal temperature, such as if you are introducing the Chinese-based, the inactivated technology-based vaccines, that normal temperature is from 2 to 8 centigrades. So this type of sensor is the best choice. And of course, because those kind of sensors, they are LoRaWAN based and battery support, so we have to use a LoRaWAN gateway to forward data from sensor and to your appointed application server or remote monitoring center, okay? That is the LoRaWAN gateway, and you can choose two different types, indoor version and outdoor version, okay? And next, what we're gonna do is we are going to send the data over the gateway through internet to your Amazon-hosted cloud-based application, which is called MileSite IoT Cloud. This is simply where the measures captured behind the scenes. This is the magic between the devices that we talked about and the ability to view, to report when data is collected. And this helps you to get a point of you using actually volumes when there is really an issue, okay? As I said, MileSite is taking use LoRaWAN technology and Internet or Internet of Things. We use the LoRa to deliver the data from sensor to the gateway and use the Internet to forward the data you need to make the right decisions and get actual alerts to make the necessary and right action when you need it. So on your platform. So it's real that simple. But where we really take the step further is a couple of these pieces. One of the pieces we want to show you today is the alerts that come to MileSite IoT Cloud. they are highly customizable, okay? Now we can collect temperature data down as low as minus 200 centigrades. You know, we have some customer in hospital or in the research testing labs where they are actually getting down to these temperatures. So I want to talk about maintaining and monitoring at minus 90 centigrades is not an issue to MileSight at all if we take use of the PT100 sensor model, okay? But you can set up the parameters in these devices to monitor whether it is a refrigerator or is the freezer, whatever range that you want to pick. We have the ability to monitor that for you. Now, when alerts come in, when it's accessed out of range, alerts are delivered to the right person at the right time for them to take the right action. Because you have a rich vaccines can be used and help your customers to keep healthy. The other piece to this is about reporting. So we talked about the alerting and the collecting data, getting all the information that you have, but you have to get that data and do something with it. So if you've been kind of this traditional old school way of manually getting the data, manipulating it, figuring out what to do with it, well, you need to forget about it. We now have the ability to help you create customized reports. With the people with right permission can create customized reports and the ability to send that data, to send that report, send to the right person to do something with it. So reporting is a super huge function to MileSight. I'd like to point out two key features of reports here. The first is the sensor settings. So this is the settings that specific that sensor set up for, and we show those ranges that you set up with in each device. So you can choose to receive the reports of picked sensors by daily, weekly, or monthly. Okay. Once you set up, and you can choose to receive the reports regularly, And finally, when there is alert, when it happens, you need a report on that. What actions did you take? What time did the action take? Give me the full documents of that. No need to worry about that. No need to look at your clock on the wall to get that time. System does it automatically for you. So we do all the data collection, we do all the distribution for you, simply, easily, so that it's all done right. Finally, well, let's finalize all this up. I'll give you a couple of keynotes about why do this now. I think 2021, this year is the very important year to our human beings, whether we can stop the spreading of this COVID-19 disease, and whether we can recover from this death situation. Okay, well, I think this vaccine gives us hopes. So MileSight can help you continuous monitoring to all your vaccines, not just COVID, but of course, COVID is the most important. All your vaccines, we deliver real-time alerts at the right time. Don't worry about collecting all that data. Don't worry turning to the CSV format for download locally. And we take care of all that right reporting for you, so you can focus on other things that you need to do. And your Amazon Web Services is our provider. So our MileSight IoT Cloud is hosted on Amazon, and they help us cloud-based system. So we have the right product, we have the right now to meet your today's requirements. So MileSite is your trusted manufacturer and partner. And this is just a new case that we've finished in Indonesia, and we cooperate with our partner to integrate our EM500 PT100 temperature sensor, extremely cold temperature sensor, to integrate it with every net gateway and every net network server software together, and forward all the data to the customer their own application server. So if you guys want to know more details about how to realize this monitoring, how to get temperature based on every net, well, you can come to our website and get more details. Or you can send your email to jessica@milesite.com, or you can visit milesite-iot.com. That's our new website, okay? So thanks, guys. Thank you for joining this webinar. See you next time. Bye-bye.